Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
There we go. Welcome back to the Locker Room on this wet Friday night. Actually, I don't know about you guys, right? But I know this is a sports show, and I'm no Sean Barry, right? But at 8:30 last night, I don't know about you, but it was totally dark outside. It's so depressing. That's the only thing I hate about the football season coming back, right? Because you know it's going to get dark.
It's not as enjoyable watching football in the winter, is it?
Nah.
It's a lot colder, a lot wetter, particularly for somebody with a disability like myself. And when the circulation isn't as good, no, it's not as enjoyable in the winter. But listen, I'll enjoy it any time as long as my team are getting 3 points every week.
So that was.
Sorry, I've not seen them since we've done them at Tynecastle, so I'm just getting that.
I was trying to forget about that, to be fair.
There's been a lot that's happened since, to be fair.
So that was BBC Radio 4's weather update at 1 minute past 5 with David Attenborough. Anyway, welcome to the Locker Room on Independence Live and Indie Live Radio. If you're listening to us, if you're watching us as well, maybe God help you. We're here until 7 o'clock tonight with my usual chum, Mr. Duffy. How's it going, Graham? It's been a busy week.
It has been, and it's going to get even busier because we've got the games tomorrow, we've got European games next week. So, yeah, it's going to be very busy. But I'm all right. Just, I'd like to say enjoying the sunshine, but clearly not. But yeah, all good.
And welcome back to the show. I think there could be a fight between you and Duffy tonight, actually. I'm looking forward to this. I've got my popcorn at Reggie. Stephen Raysig, how are you, Stephen?
I'm doing very well. There's not going to be a fight between me and Graham. It's all amicable here. So, despite the result during the week, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, no, I know that we're here to talk about the games at the weekend and all that, and we were here during the week, me and Graham, talking about the England game, and we were here last Friday night talking about Cyprus. But you were at Hampden on Tuesday night against England, and I must say, apart from the defeat, it was some atmosphere. How was it in the ski game?
The atmosphere when I was in the North Stand was pretty good. I thought we were flat in the first half. I don't understand why I felt as if we sat off England a wee bit in the first half. When we got a victories against Denmark and Spain, I thought we got that by pressing them really well, having a lot of energy. I just felt that was missing in the first half of our performance. But listen, no complaints about the result. I mean, I'm watching the game from an elevated view, and just to see Jude Bellingham, I know he's an England player, but wow, what a talent that boy is. Unbelievable.
Yep. So, I mean, me and Graham was looking forward to doing the shows. The shows went okay between 6 and 7, and then the wheels came off the bus after 10 o'clock. But if you want to watch that show, I don't know why you want to watch it, but on you go. It's out there somewhere. You'll see Graham was mouthing the hankies. And you'll just see me saying, well, we're going to the Euros. We don't really care about a stupid friend against England. So anyway, it's good to get the bread and butter back this weekend of the football. And there's a big game on tonight in the Championship, Ayr United against Packet Thistle. We'll come back to preview that game later on after we preview the games tomorrow and the Premiership, and it's Johnson against Rangers. This is a very interesting game, Stephen, because 2 weeks ago Celtic went to Ibrox and basically dominated the game and won the game. But as you said to any Celtic fans before the game, they were a bit scared. I'm putting it politely. To go into that game, but up until that game, the Rangers fans were very confident. So, as you know, football is a funny old game at times.
No, it certainly is. And that'll be a tough game tomorrow for Rangers, not in the sense that people, personnel on the pitch, but just in the terms of the pressure that they're going to be under to get a result. They need to win. If they drop points tomorrow, there's a potential if they get beat that Motherwell could be going into a game against them at Ibrox 7 points in front of them next week, which is just mental. I don't think they will lose, but I think they need a reaction from the performance against Celtic. I thought they were far too passive in that game against Celtic, and I thought that they would have showed more teeth up front. I think the big thing though tomorrow is Todd Cantwell. He's injured for 4 weeks now, so that's a big loss for them. It'll be interesting to see how they line up. I think Sam Lammers will come in tomorrow, but pressure's on to get a result, isn't it, Graham?
I think this is a big week for Rangers. Obviously, they've got the game tomorrow, then they've got Real Betis in Europe on Thursday, and then they've got Motherwell next week. I think this is a massive week for Rangers. They cannot afford to drop any more points. Obviously, losing the Old Firm game was massive. They're already 4 points behind Celtic, who I expect to beat Dundee comfortably tomorrow. But then I said that when Celtic played St Johnstone, that finished 0-0. But I do expect them to beat Dundee comfortably. I think this is huge. St Johnstone have managed to turn things around. 2 draws in a row. They've kind of got a bit more form about them now. I think this is a very hard game for Rangers tomorrow. I do think they'll probably win it, but I think this is a massive week. Michael Beale is under a lot of pressure, especially after the Old Firm game. Rangers fans were not happy, which I completely understand. Losing a game against your rivals is not what you want, but the way they lost it as well, they weren't good enough. And I think there's been a lot of questions asked about his new signings, who again, I'm not overly impressed by. And I think the point you made there, Stephen, I thought about their salary as well. I think Cantwell's going to be a huge loss. He is massive to the Rangers team in terms of creativity and goals. I think that's a big blow for them. I've not been impressed with Danilo yet, or the likes of Dessers. So I'm sure they'll come good at some point, but I think this is a huge game. And for me, this is a place you don't want to go to just now. You know, I know St Johnstone are bottom, but as I say, they have picked up. I think this is a very big game for Rangers tomorrow, and they can't afford to drop points.
If you're Michael Beale, are you changing formation going into that game tomorrow? Because he's been playing with, I think, kind of a 3 up front and 2 winners and Dessers through the middle. It's not really been working. If you're a Rangers fan, would you be looking for Michael Beale to be changing that formation?
I would, but I think he's got a philosophy and a style that he wants to try and play, and I think he'll stick with the same way. I don't think it's working just now. And to be honest, I've just said about Todd Cantwell there. For me, Rangers' best player so far this season has been Tavernier. He's the one that's getting them goals. He's the one that's getting assists. I think he's a massive player tomorrow. But if I'm a Rangers fan, I probably would be looking to change the formation. But I don't think he will. I think he'll stick with the same tried and trusted that he has before. But I genuinely think this is a huge game for Rangers. They cannot afford to drop any points here, because I do expect Celtic to beat Dundee quite comfortably. And then the gap's just going to be extended. Tomorrow will be the 5th game in the league. They're already going to be falling behind. This is huge. You know, I know they've got the League Cup game to come, which again, Rangers are probably favourites for this now. This is a massive week for Rangers coming up. I think Real Betis will be a difficult game on Thursday, because they're not a bad side. They're a really decent side in Spain. This is a big game. I think Stephen McLean will go into this game tomorrow thinking we can take points off them. If they keep it tight early on, they can cause Rangers problems. We saw what Stevie May did at Celtic Park. He caused them problems.
Yeah.
This is a really tough game, I think. I do think Rangers probably will come through it, but I don't think it'll be comfortable. Rangers fans, yes, they want to win, but they want a performance as well, which I don't think they've seen yet. And that Celtic game was a massive letdown. They didn't cause Celtic anywhere near enough problems. The players, for me, I'm just not sure yet that those players they signed are quite at the level they want yet. You know, they signed Danilo for £6 million. He's been on the bench for the last couple of games. This tomorrow is a massive game. And I think if Rangers were to drop points here, there's already questions getting asked by Rangers fans of Michael Beale. There'll be even more if they drop points tomorrow.
Is it not ironic, Stephen, that this was Gio's second last game before he got the sack? I'm not saying on the show that I'm all for managers getting the sack. Like, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm just stating out the facts that when Van Bronckhorst when Keswick Johnson he get beat, and I think the next game was against St Mirren. Am I right in saying?
Yeah.
And they get beat as well. So I'm just thinking, well, it's kind of like a bit ironic how the next Rangers manager goes there and he's got to win on tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I don't think that if they do drop points tomorrow, we will get the sack, because you're going into a big European game against Betis. I don't think they're going to pull the plug on the manager 3 days before the first European group game. So I think, look, if they don't win tomorrow, I'll be going to Ibrox as a Motherwell fan, rubbing my hands with glee, because we've started the season flying. They haven't. And if we get something against St Mirren tomorrow and they don't, we could embarrass them at Ibrox if we go to get a result. But nah, listen, I firmly expect Rangers to get the result. I don't think it'll be comfortable, but I think they'll come away with a 1-0 or a 2-0 and get the job done. But listen, from St Johnstone perspective, Graham's absolutely spot on. Stevie McLean will be fancying his chances big time. What have they got to lose? This isn't where they're measured. So if they get something to this game, brilliant. If they don't, nobody's going to go, oh my God, St Johnstone get beat off Rangers. So it's a free hit for them.
As for Rangers, Graham, I was watching the press conference this afternoon with Michael Beale, and I think he got asked about 3 or 4 of the same questions. Are you under pressure tomorrow? And if you get a chance to watch the Rangers press conference, he basically came back with an answer. If I was a Ranger fan, I would not be happy, because he was saying, well, you know, we're under pressure, but we've had so many shots and goal, so many passes in the park. But like, if you're a football fan, Graham, you're not interested in how many passes and how many corner kicks and how many throws you get. It's basically, have you won the game at the end of the 90 minutes or not?
Yeah, it's good to see our good friends Hashbury Stumble and As Lino both on the chat here. Good to see you guys. Hope you're all well. Yeah, I mean, stats mean nothing. You can turn any stat the way you want. You can have 60% possession, but I've done nothing with it. And I think that's a lot what Rangers have done this season. I think against Celtic, they probably had quite a lot of possession at home, but didn't really test the goalkeeper. So that's a massive letdown for Rangers. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm not a massive fan of Michael Beale. I think it was a massive risk giving him the job in the first place after Gerrard went. I know a lot of folks said, oh, you know, Beale was a kind of mastermind behind the whole Rangers thing with Gerrard. I don't agree with that. I've not seen anything from Michael Beale so far that I think, yeah, this guy's a good manager. He might be a great coach, but I don't think he's a good manager. And if I'm a Rangers fan, I'm looking at that team thinking, I don't see what the plan is here. I don't see an identity just now. They've got a lot of players that, for me, have just not cut it so far. You're still looking at guys like Cantwell, who's injured. You're looking at guys like Tavernier. They're probably Rangers' 2 best players just now, which says a lot for the players they brought in. I think as well, one of the biggest players, I think, that I've been quite impressed with recently has been Matondo. He's got pace to burn. He's actually added a few goals to his game. So most of the players that Rangers have got that are good players are players that were there already. I've not been impressed with Sima or Dessers, for example. Lammers has got a couple of goals. But you can turn stats any way you want. If Rangers go there tomorrow and have 70% possession, have no shot or 1 shot on target and lose the game, Rangers fans will be raging. And I think Michael Beale, I think when you're a Celtic Rangers manager or Hearts and Hibs, you are under pressure. You know, you can't afford to, if you're a Rangers fan or a Rangers manager, you cannot afford to finish second. You've got to finish top. And I just don't see that Rangers team finishing top just now. I'm not impressed with them at all from what I've seen this season. Now, again, it's very early in the season. Things could pick up. But what I've seen so far this season, and they got hammered by PSV. And let's be honest, that could have been a lot more. PSV could have hammered them by 6 or 7. So I'm not impressed by Rangers. And what I see so far, I don't see a particular style of play. Even when they beat, I said this last week, even when they beat Livingston 4-0, a lot of Rangers fans were booing at only 1-0 up. It wasn't until they got the second goal that they started to relax a bit. So I don't think Michael Beale is a particularly great manager. Any Rangers fan that's watching this, I'm sure there won't be. They can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I'm not that impressed by what I've seen so far.
I would agree. I would agree with that. And I think to touch on what you said there, Graham. I think Michael Beale's tenure proves that there's a difference between being a manager
And
being
an
a
assistant man. Yeah.
because he's shown that he's a good coach, but managing that dressing room isn't going to be easy when you've had the start to the season that they've had. I mean, you look at the starting lineup against Celtic. I think there was it Jack Butland and Dessers who started the game that were actually new signings, and they've spent £13 million in the summer. So he's not getting these players that he's recruited into the squad. He's not found the best style. I personally, if I'm a Rangers supporter, I'm wanting to see Danilo through the middle, because even against Celtic, the amount of times that they popped the ball over the top, but Dessers didn't quite have the pace to run on it. If that's Danilo, he didn't go. So I think they maybe need to try him through the middle tomorrow if they're going to stick with the same formation. But yeah, massive pressure.
I was speaking to one of my Rangers pals during the week, Stephen, and he basically agreed with me. Maybe Gus agreed with me because, he wanted to get away from me as well, and I don't blame him, to be honest with you. But the question I posed to him was, do you think the Rangers team has went back the way in terms of the players that they've got now compared to the likes of Joe Aribo, Ryan Kent and stuff like that, So do you think they've kind of went back the way? And by the way, I'm talking about since the beginning of the season. I'm not just talking about just because they get beat for Celtic a few weeks ago.
I can sum this up by answering it one way, and I'm sure you'll both agree. If you were to offer any Rangers fan a front three against Celtic, would they have immediately swapped the front three that started for Kent, Morelos and Sakala? The answer to that question is yes. So that shows you that no, I'm not saying the players that they brought in are duds. I think it's too early to say that. There's not been a long enough period of time for this to say that in concrete. But like I say, he's not getting the best out of them at all.
I think as well, Graham, and we've spoke about this numerous times on the show as well. And Stephen, I would like Stephen's take on this as well. But if you were a Rangers fan, and I'm talking about away last season as well, there's not been a complete performance by the Rangers for 90 minutes, because I've always said this to you, Graham, that Rangers are they play well bit parts in the game, like 45 minutes, 50 minutes here and there, but they can't really put a 90-minute performance together. I know I don't know if that's a bit unfair. You can comment in the chat if I'm wrong, but you see what I'm getting it from, because they're not kind of like, I don't know, they seem a bit kind of disjointed at time for me at the moment.
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, I think even the Ross County game, I thought they played well first half, but then second half, County got back in the game and could have easily got something out of that game in the end. So I don't think they have played well for 90 minutes yet. I'm sure that Rangers fans aren't going to be bothered as long as they win. But there's got to be a certain, as I keep talking about, when you're at Celtic and Rangers, there's a certain level, a certain style you've got to play. And I don't think Rangers have hit that yet. Now, they may do that tomorrow against St Johnstone. We don't know. But I just think this is a tough game. And the one thing I would say as well is, you can't say, and no Rangers fan can say that Michael Beale's not been backed, because he has been backed massively in the transfer market. He's been given the money to go and sign players. And as Stevens just said there, for that Celtic Rangers game, for only two of those players to start, in a game like that, I'm expecting quite a few of those players to start if they're good enough. And they're not ready to start, which I find very, very baffling that they're not quite ready yet. I think Danilo was brought in for me to be a starter, and he's not starting. I think Lammers might be brought in to be a starter, and he's not starting. Dessers for me at the moment hasn't really shown enough. I think at times he looks all right, but I just don't think he's that great yet. Sima, as I said at the time, he scored that goal against PSV in the first half, but for 44 minutes he was awful. He was offering nothing until that goal. So I think Rangers have a long way to go until they are near Celtic. I mean, we've talked about Celtic before. I don't think Celtic have started the season that well, but they're 4 points ahead. You know, even that Rangers game last week, even that Rangers game before the break, you talk about like, see, Kyogo. Kyogo in that first half probably had the fewest touches, yet Kyogo does what he does. He bangs in the goal. Rangers don't have anyone for me at the moment that has got that kind of performance in them that if they get one chance, they're going to take it. Whereas Kyogo, the way Kyogo finished that, I don't think you're seeing that from Sima, Dessers, Lammers or anyone. Celtic have that player up front in Kyogo that is just a massive, massive difference. Rangers don't have that.
No, you're spot on. And I think that the thing for me is, if you take in isolation Brendan Rodgers as a coach and Michael Beale as a coach, you're right when you say that Celtic and Rangers haven't started the season perfectly either of them. But who do you have more confidence in getting the better out of a side and picking up form as the season goes on? It's not Michael Beale, it's Brendan Rodgers, because he's been there before, he's done it with the likes of Liverpool with, and he's more proven as a manager than what Michael Beale is. I think in terms of the game tomorrow, I think it's a really, really big game for Jose Cifuentes. I expect him to come in to the place called Campbell. I'm actually surprised he's not started more games in the Rangers shirt, Cifuentes, because the wee glimpses I have seen of him, he's looked okay. He looks like a ball carrier, looks like somebody that's quite a technical player as well. So I'm interested to see his performance tomorrow. But like I say, I expect Celtic to kick on now after that result, and that only piles more pressure on Rangers.
I think before we talk about St. Johnstone, obviously, and we hear from Stephen McLean. Stephen makes a not Stephen McLean. Stephen Greasy makes a brilliant point, and I think I said this on the show as well, that it shows you the gulf between being a coach and being a manager. In terms of, like, I know, like, we talk about the gap between Celtic and Rangers and all the rest of it. I mean, you know, but there's certainly a gap between the manager and the assistant manager as well. Would you agree, Stephen?
No, well, there's more responsibility on the manager. Manager has to do everything. He's responsible for everybody's happiness. If you're an assistant manager, you're only responsible for maybe setting up a training session and giving a second opinion if the manager asks you for it. So, listen. But Michael Beale, when he's offered the Rangers job, when he's at QPR last year, he didn't turn around and say no, and he's not gone, because when he's had 7 or 8 good games at QPR, probably more than that, and then Rangers have come in. I think it was 12-13 actually, and Rangers come in. That's a good start, but when is he going to get that chance again if QPR's formed that? So
I think
he's took the. On you go.
No, I was just going to say as well, I think if you look at it as well, Michael Beale at the moment, for me, hasn't won a game that mattered yet. If you look at they beat Celtic last season, but Celtic have won the league already. He's not won a big game yet that actually matters. And that's a lot of things. I've heard a lot of Rangers fans saying that as well, that when it comes to a massive, massive game that he has to win, he doesn't win it. He's failed in the massive games. He's winning the games that probably you expect him to win. But when it comes to a massive game, the likes of Celtic, he's losing them. And that's a thing he's got to get right. You know, tomorrow, yes, is a big game. But when it comes to these massive, massive occasions, Michael Beale's not winning these games. And that is where he lets himself down quite a lot.
And that's a good point as well, Graham, because like they were Rangers fans were quickly coming on here and a lot of platforms after the last goal from game last season. Ibrox could say, well, yeah, Rangers will take a bounce into that season, and you know I would disagree with them that very slightly, because obviously Rangers has signed 9 players. Celtic signed a new team, a new squad, and they've got a new manager as well. So they're 2 completely different teams. But also, Michael Beale won a big game against Celtic, but that game didn't matter because the league was well over by then.
I know. On you go.
No, on you go, Stephen. On you go.
I'll just say the thing for me is everybody's talking about them winning the League Cup as if it's some sort of foregone conclusion. I can't sit here and say that I have any confidence, that I would have any confidence just watching the initial that Michael Beale would be able to get a result at Hampden against an Aberdeen or a St Mirren. Listen, they're going to have a tough game against Livingston, but Hearts or the Hibs. All the pressure's going to be on him. He's in a lose-lose situation. The further that Rangers get into that League Cup, because all the expectation is on them to win it, and if he doesn't, he might even win the job come the semi-finals, but if they don't, then wow.
Okay, so before we move on to speak about St Johnstone, let's hear from Stephen McLean. He was speaking to the media on Wednesday ahead of the game tomorrow at McDermott Park. Oh, we seem to be having an issue there. I don't know what it is, but we'll get to him as soon as they can. Maybe he's got a bit of skate flight coming on in the locker room. I don't blame you, mate. But we'll hear from him later on. Stephen, St Johnstone ended the... See, it's a bit of a funny one, the international break, isn't it? Because if you play bag, you want the international break to come, but if you start to win results, you want it to continue. Because obviously St Johnstone picked up a point against Dundee before the international break, and then they went to Celtic Park a few weeks ago and got a point. And they beat Celtic, actually. They had a brilliant chance in the last minute. I think it was Stevie May, if I'm right. So, but you know, St Johnstone at home tomorrow in front of the TV cameras.
Yep, unbeaten in 2. A big point for them against Dundee. I think the one against Celtic was maybe unexpected. Well, definitely unexpected. So that's a bonus point for them. But listen, there's no. I've said it before. There's no pressure on them tomorrow. The boy Angus Kukarevi, young boy, scored against Dundee towards the end. He looks a player that, as does Stevie May. So they've got players up front who can hurt Rangers and who can threaten. And listen, the longer Rangers go without scoring, there's going to be a big away crowd there tomorrow. The more unrest there will be within that support. And then St Johnstone, as Nim said earlier, can really feel their way into the game. And they get a chance and they take it. You just never know.
And I know that we were saying about Michael Beale, this is his first job, but I mean, you could say the same thing about Stephen McLean being, you know, number one for the first time. Obviously, he's been there for years as a player and an assistant manager as well. But I mean, I don't know about you, right? But I just feel though St Johnstone winning the double during the lockdown season has actually worked in the opposite favour, because since they've actually won the double, they've never put a consistent run of games together.
I think what that did for Callum Davidson is it set a really high standard for them to go and replicate or do just as well the next season. Obviously, the season after that, they were in the playoff, I think. They were toiling a wee bit last season, and he eventually lost his job. But listen, I think they've reported as well, St Johnstone, they've just reported a 7-figure loss financially for the year. So it's a club that's not in the best state financially. It's a club that Stephen McLean's had to work very hard to get anything out of. And listen, tomorrow, as I said before, won't decide Stephen McLean's fate, but God, if he gets a result, it helps him massively.
Yeah, no, exactly, and obviously, obviously, it's funny because during the international breaks, you were think, well, teams will just be training and all that, Stephen, but like No, St Johnson had a bounce game against St Mirren as well, and the likes of when we talk about Motherwell in a wee minute, they had a bounce game against Kilmarnock. As you might be able to fill us in on that later on, but yeah, I mean St Johnson, they're at home tomorrow, but Rangers will take a big support with them, Graham.
Yeah, they will. You'd expect that. And I think their fans will be looking for a reaction. Of course they will. They have to get a reaction after that Celtic game. They will take a big crowd, and I think it'll be a decent atmosphere. They probably will. Well, they will because it's at Johnston. They'll probably outnumber the St Johnstone fans, which is something that I never like. The fact that an away support outnumbers the home support. But it's just the way it is, unfortunately. So they will take a big support, and they need to give the fans a reaction. As I say, it's a massive, massive game for Rangers. I think this is a game that they have to win, and I think they've got to put performance in as well. You talked about earlier on that they've not put 90 minutes in yet. I think this is a huge game for them tomorrow. They have to win this. I think they will, but I don't think it'll be a comfortable one. I think St Johnstone make it difficult, which is what St Johnstone have done recently. Obviously, they got a 2-2 draw against Dundee. They got a 0-0 draw against Celtic, which is a massive, massive result. If they can pick up a point or even 3 tomorrow at Johnston, what a last couple of weeks this would be for them. It would be huge.
Okay, so let's now hear, hopefully this game, he's not getting the skeg fright, actually. Just come into the show, mate, it's fine. Stephen McLean, he's talking about the game tomorrow. He was talking on Wednesday.
Chat's not showing up on my thing here.
He must be a very shy guy, and stuff. But yeah, we'll just chat for a few minutes more till I get this set up here, and yeah. So yeah, what are you expecting from St Johnstone tomorrow, Stephen, at home?
I think the first 20 minutes they'll try and just kind of shut up, make sure Rangers don't get anything early, try and unsettle the crowd and work their way into the game that way. I already said that the longer Rangers go without scoring, the more the crowd are going to be on their back, and St Johnstone need to use that to hopefully work in their favour. So I think that'll be the game plan to unsettle the straight and nick something on the counter.
Yeah, no, I definitely. 12:30 that kickoff is tomorrow on Sky Sports. The only game you'll see this week from Scotland. Anyway, that was a wee. As you can tell, Stephen, if you work with me long enough, God help you with that one. You will hear me having a wee dig at Sky Sports every week. I don't work for Sky, so you know. But anyway, let me get out of this hole now, and hopefully we'll hear from Stephen McLean on the Yep. Okay. Yep. So we're going to hear from Stephen McLean about the game tomorrow. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I think he's a shy guy. Actually, that's why he's not speaking to us. But we will maybe try one more time for him. When we get it as well. How important would be Stevie May for St Johnstone tomorrow, Stephen?
He's massive. I mean, he's the main goal threat. He's been a legend at that club. He's won the Scottish Cup with them in his first spell there. So he's a player that knows what these fixtures are all about. When the likes of Rangers and Celtic come to St Johnstone, so he's the biggest hope tomorrow, I think, of getting a result.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and do you think he will be a key man for St Johnstone?
Yep. Yeah, I do. I think he is a key man for St Johnstone tomorrow.
Yeah, no. I mean, he's basically. I know I was a bit unfair of everybody here in the locker room team, but we actually put St Johnstone down as relegation favourites at the beginning of the season. And listen, it's only a bit of fun at the beginning of the season. We might be totally wrong, and it might be Livingston or Dundee. You never know, But yeah, I think if they pick up a point tomorrow, or even win the game, that will give St Johnstone a big lift.
No, absolutely. I mean, because the teams round about them will be looking at that and thinking that it's their opportunity to get something for the game. So if St Johnstone then gets something, that then the week after just piles the pressure on the rest of the teams round about them.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think St Johnston's been very disappointing, Stephen, in the League Cup, because that's 2 seasons in a row they failed to qualify for the next round of the League Cup.
I know. I mean, you said it earlier, if we're going to winning a double, to even getting out the group stage, it's not been good for them, and that everybody talks about it, that result against Stirling Albion, but they'll be determined to put that to bed as quickly as possible, and I think forget about it, and that they've made good steps towards that, by getting a point against Celtic and a point against Dundee, so hopefully from their perspective they can build on it again tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, as I said to you, the international break can work one or two ways, because obviously St Johnstone pick up a decent point against Dundee in the derby, but also, I mean, as I said to you, they could get beat Celtic the other week as well. I think they had a chance in the last few minutes. So, I think Stephen May came on as a sub at that game, if I'm right. But they should get nicked it as well,
No, I absolutely agree.
Okay, so that was the St Johnstone Rangers game tomorrow, kicking off at 12:30. And that game's on Sky. And St Johnstone would be wanting to get back. Well, I was going to say get back to winning ways, but get their first 3 points of the new season. We were hoping to hear from Stephen McLean, but we're still hoping to hear from him. They go on in the show if it works. Let's move on now to Celtic and Dundee, Stephen. The game tomorrow, Celtic first game at Parkhead. After they went to Ibrox the other week and beat Rangers. So do you think Celtic will be confident off of the back of the international break? Oh, okay. We're having some few technical problems again. I thought the technical issues were over for this year, but obviously the back. So it's nice to have the technical issues back. And Stephen went away as well. So I was speaking to myself. But what's new there, Grim? Okay, so I'm not really sure what's happening on the show. Can you hear me? Yeah, Grim's back now, so that's good. So we were just talking about the Celtic Dundee game tomorrow, Grim.
Yeah, I can't see anything other than a comfortable Celtic win. As I said, I did say that a few weeks ago, and Celtic drew us at Johnston, but this will be a different game. Dundee have had a decent start. 6th in the league. They've done okay so far, but I think this will be a step too far. I expect Celtic, after a 2-week break, to really come out flying up the traps, and I think this will be a really tough game for Dundee. They're going to have a lot of defending to do. I think the keeper's going to be very busy, and I think this could be 4 or 5. I think the one thing that Celtic didn't do against St Johnstone was get an early goal. I think they'll get it tomorrow. And I think that could then be the end of quite a comfortable win for Celtic, which I do expect. But yeah, this should be a very comfortable game for Celtic, I expect.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's coming off the back of a big win against Rangers, but also they've got a big game against Feyenoord on Tuesday night in the Champions League. So it comes straight in the middle. It's funny when you play for Celtic and Rangers after a European game, after an international break, you're straight back on it because there's always big games coming up.
Yeah, and I suppose for Celtic, the one good thing is they're at home. 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday afternoon, at home against Dundee. It's probably a good fixture to come back to. And yeah, I think, this week's going to be a big week for Celtic as well with Feyenoord. That'll be a difficult game. Feyenoord are not a bad side. I think Celtic will go there, and I don't see them playing any other way. They'll try and go there and attack and have a go. But I think tomorrow it'll just be a case of, try and get the job done early and maybe take a few players off that are important to them. They do obviously have a few players come back from international duty. Callum McGregor has played a lot of football. I expect him to start against England, of course he would be. So he'll be. The thing is, McGregor just never seems to get tired. He's always available, always makes himself available. So I think tomorrow will be a good game for Celtic. They'll dominate the ball, be very comfortable, and like I say, if they get an early goal, I do think it'll be a case of just how many Celtic will get.
Okay, so Brendan Rodgers was talking yesterday about the game tomorrow, and he gave us a wee injury update as well ahead of the game against Dundee tomorrow. Oh, there you go. Another Brendan Rodgers. Yeah, so basically, we're having a few technical issues tonight with Brendan Rodgers. So we'll give it another go and see if that works. He was speaking about the game tomorrow. Oh, right, okay, 2 minutes. Yep, so just because I gave it the big build up, it wasn't ready to go. So I must be more faster than Kyogo actually, and stuff. So yeah, so Brendan Rodgers was talking about the game tomorrow, and he was given an injury update on the squad. Ah, very good. Yeah, okay. Yes, so Brendan Rodgers was basically saying that Rio Tati is back in training, back in the squad, so that I think he'll get a game tomorrow, actually. And also, but the big blow for Celtic is Rio Abada is out the team for about I think he said about up till Christmas. So that's a bit of a blow for Rangers.
Yeah, it's a massive blow for Celtic. I've been impressed with Abada. I think he's a really good footballer. He's quick, skillful, adds goals to the game, is creative. He's a very good player, and I think he'll be a massive miss. But that's where you've got a squad. I think Celtic have got a more than capable squad there. The other players can come off the bench and make a difference. So I think as much as we are miss, I think Celtic have a big enough squad to cope with that. And I don't think it'll be much of a miss tomorrow because no disrespect to Dundee, but I do expect whoever plays for Celtic tomorrow will be very comfortable. If you look at that defence as well, the fact that they had Lager Bielka and they had John Scales playing against Rangers, I think a lot of Celtic fans and Rangers fans as well probably thought this is a difficult one here. But they, after a kind of difficult opening 10 minutes, they were very impressive. I don't expect Celtic to be having to do a lot of defending tomorrow. I might be wrong, but I don't expect it to be defending a lot tomorrow. I think it was more about what their attacking players do. I think if Kyogo gets any chances tomorrow, he'll bury them. So yeah, as much as I think Abada will be a massive miss, I do think that squad is still far too strong and should beat Dundee quite comfortably.
Well, we try one more time for Brendan Rodgers. Maybe there's a lot of managers being a bit shy coming on the show, and I don't blame them because Graham's a big name in the game now, you know. So we'll hear from Brendan Rodgers, hopefully, for the fourth time tonight. Let's hear from Rodgers. He was talking about the game tomorrow. Okay, listen, we're not going to bother going there. So, yeah, he was saying, he was saying he was saying about Abada is backing, you know, he's away for until Christmas. That's a blow for Celtic. Tati is back in the squad. I think he'll get a game at some point, Glenn, but I don't think he'll play a whole 90 minutes tomorrow.
No, probably not. You want to ease them in gently, and this is a game to do it, I think. You know, it's going to be not a lot of pressure. I think, as I say, Celtic will be very comfortable. If they score early, I think it'll be probably 4 or 5. So, yeah, I think it's a game that you can probably just ease them in quite gently. I don't think he'll start. I think come off the bench when we're, 10, 15 minutes to go, but the game will probably be done by then. So, yeah, there's no real pressure on him. They'll look to try and get him back, I think, for probably the game against Feyenoord, which is really a bigger game in the Champions League. So, yeah, there's no real rush to bring him back. I think Celtic will be quite happy to just have Hatate on the bench and bring him on later on because he's a massive player. He was one of the best players in the league last season. So, yeah, I think he'll be a massive, massive bonus when he's back, but there's no need to rush him back.
Yeah, and as for Dundee, Graham, I mean, are you giving them any chance? I mean, I could maybe tell you the tactics that they're going to play, parking the bus and hoping to hit Celtic in the counter card, but you can never tell. I mean, I've seen Celtic against Ross County, obviously St Johnstone this season, and teams don't really maybe park the bus now when they come and have a bit of a go. And I mean, look at Ross County. Okay, they get beat, but they score 2 goals. St Johnstone there then make the game against Celtic at the end of the game. So do you think Dundee will take heart from that?
I think they should. You know, I was impressed with Ross County and St Johnstone as well. I thought they both went to Celtic Park and, you know, they had a bit of a goal. As I say, St Johnstone could have easily won the game in the end with Stevie May's chance. But yeah, I think Dundee will look at that and think, actually, do you know what, maybe we can get at the Celtic defence. As I keep talking about the fact that Lagerbielke and Scales at the moment, they're not the best partnership, but they got better in the game against Rangers. So I think if you're Dundee, if you're Tony Docherty, you've got to think, maybe we could have a go at that Celtic defence, maybe create 1 or 2 chances. But I don't really give much of a chance, I'm going to be honest. I think this will be a very comfortable win for Celtic. I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again, but I don't think I'll be wrong tomorrow. I just think Celtic are going to be far too strong. They've had this break now for the international week. They'll have a good couple of weeks in training with the guys that haven't been at international duty. So yeah, I just think Celtic, you'll see a different Celtic side tomorrow. I think you'll see a Celtic side that will come out on the front foot, pressing, attacking football. You know, it's been difficult, not really had much of a chance to do that so far. So yeah, I think tomorrow will be a very comfortable win for Celtic. But Dundee are not going to be judged on a game like tomorrow. Same as St Johnstone against Rangers, they won't be judged on that. But I think it'll be very comfortable for Celtic, unfortunately, for Dundee.
They're going to need to hope. Sorry, guys, my camera's not working. That's why I've been trying to fix it. But they're going to need to hope for a similar performance to St Johnstone, where they can maybe catch Celtic on the counter. But I agree with Graham. I think Celtic are going to be far too strong. I mean, I'm assuming tomorrow we'll see the debut of Luis Palma, given the injury to Leo Abada, who's out for 5 months after picking up an injury with Israel. So it'll be interesting to see his performance, but I'm expecting a 3 or 4-0 win for Celtic.
Yeah, and it'll be a good warm-up for Celtic for Tuesday night against and the European game against Feyenoord. Of course, we're doing the game on Tuesday after the game, Graham.
Yeah, it will be. I'm interested to see how that's going to go. Like I say, I think Feyenoord are a decent side, but I think they're a side that Celtic can beat. You know, we know what Celtic are capable of. We've seen it before in Europe. So they could potentially cause a problem for Feyenoord. But yeah, I think tomorrow's going to be one of these games that it will be a decent warm-up for them. And that's no disrespect to Dundee, because I expect most teams to go to Celtic Park and have a difficult game. But I think Dundee are going to be in a bit of a doing tomorrow if Celtic really want it. And like I said, if it gets to about 65 minutes or something, or 60 minutes, and Celtic are 3-4 up, you can then afford to take players off that are really important to you. So yeah, it'll be a decent warm-up for them. And again, you know, if earlier in the day Rangers have dropped points as well, that would be an even bigger boost to Celtic, because I just think at the moment, I don't think Celtic have played that well so far yet. They're still picking up points. And my worry for the rest of the league is that once Celtic do start to motor, they're going to be very hard to stop.
Yeah, no, definitely. Celtic plays Motherwell, and I think they play Motherwell in 2 weeks, Stephen, at Fir Park.
Yeah, 2 weeks at Fir Park.
Yep. So, Graham, because Stephen's camera off, he might be making faces behind our backs, big to. We'll get you away with it, Stephen, because it's a Friday night.
Not at all.
Not at all. Listen to him, Graham, not at all. Right, I've heard that one before. I've caught Mr. Duffy a few times actually over the years.
I've never done that. What are you talking about?
To my face. What do you think of this game tomorrow, Stephen, then, before we move on?
I think Celtic will come out all guns blazing, get a couple of early goals, bring on some subs, win the game 4-0 and be comfortable in it.
There you go, be comfortable, like Stephen is with his camera off as well. So that's good. Let's move on now to there's a few comments I could make there, but I can't. Let's move on now to the big game in Edinburgh. No, it's not the rugby team, it's Hearts playing against Aberdeen. And the last time out, it was Hearts against Motherwell, Graham against Stephen. And I'm sorry, Graham, but Stephen came out on top in that game. We actually did a show that day as well, and you actually did well to not start crying on air. I'm not going to tell everybody what you did when we come off here, actually. The air was blue. I had to cover my ears as well. So what do you think of this game, Graham? It's a big game, but you must take advantage of it because it's at home as well.
It's only 5 games in, and for me, this is already a massive game for both Hearts and Aberdeen. We have to win this game. You know, we're sitting 8th at the moment. Aberdeen are sitting 11th. We've not had a great start. There's been all the stuff with Stephen Naismith and Frankie McAvoy and who's the head coach, who's the manager, and all that kind of stuff. And performances have not been good. You know, we've only played 2 home games so far and not scored in any of them. And, you know, I would say if I could see Stephen's face, I would say it to his face, but I can't see him. But yeah, I mean, the Hearts Motherwell game, Hearts were awful. Motherwell deserved to win the game, and the goal they scored as well was a great goal. I don't know how that was even checked for offside, because the guy was miles onside. But Hearts were dreadful. And even when Motherwell was out of 10 men, at no point did I think Hearts were going to score. Watching the game while I was doing the show, and at no point did I think Hearts are going to get back in this game. We just didn't look good enough. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to tomorrow at all. I think it's a massive, massive game. Stephen Naismith is now the permanent manager, or is he? Who knows? But yeah, it's a huge game. I want to see Hearts coming out tomorrow on the front foot, playing the attacking football that, to be fair to Stephen Naismith, he did show last season when he got the job. We started to press teams, we played on the front foot, we played at a high tempo. I've not seen that yet so far this season. We've been very, very slow, very poor defensively. The goals we lose are just ridiculous. I think tomorrow's huge. You know, after tomorrow we then play St Mirren away. We've got the cup game against Kilmarnock, and then we've got I think we're away to Ross County. Before we've then got a horrible October where we play Hibs, Celtic and Rangers. I think tomorrow's huge. Now, normally, Hearts Aberdeen games are won by the team that is playing at home. We tend to do quite well at home against Aberdeen. But I am genuinely worried because Duke and Majowski I really rate for Aberdeen. Leighton Clarkson, I said before, I think he's a very good footballer. I'm worried. If Aberdeen score the opening goal tomorrow, that crowd is going to be toxic. There's already a lot of Hearts fans that I follow on Twitter that follow me that are not confident tomorrow, and I can see where they're coming from. So I think tomorrow is a massive, massive match for both teams. But being at home, given the fact we've already drawn against Kilmarnock at home, lost to Motherwell, we have to win this. This is a huge, huge game for me. I think already, and I said already, even 5 games in, this is a must-win game for me. We have to get 3 points tomorrow. If we don't, I think Naismith is under massive pressure.
Speaking to the media before the game, Stephen Naismith said that the break came at a good time. A good time for us. Our performance levels at times this season have been really good. We have looked at Fleck, but then when you throw in the number of games that we have had in a short space of time, I don't think we've had dealt with that in the right way. We have gave up cheap goals from that, and then when you put in a difficult position, but when we just haven't showed up in the big games at times, really disappointing. But tomorrow is a clean start, and hopefully that will win the game. Before we go to Stephen, let's hear from Graham on his comments. Do you agree with Naismith's comments there?
I think a lot of what it says is true. I do agree with most of them, and the fact as well that we've got players back from injury now. Benny Winningham is back. He's been training the last week. We've got Stephen Kingsley back. We've also got Callum Nieuwenhof back. And also it's great to hear as well, from what I heard in his press conference earlier, that we've got Odello Fire, who unfortunately had to pull out a couple of weeks ago with he went back to Brighton because he had a bit of a health scare, so he's back as well at some point. So yeah, but I do agree with most of what he said. The cheap goals he's talking about, he's right. We give away 30 minutes in. Even the goal against Motherwell, it's a great move by Motherwell. It's poor defending again from Hearts. But it's every week. Every time a team comes forward, look, they're going to score. So yeah, we are giving away cheap goals. But for me, the biggest worry that I've got is and I talked about this with Rangers as well, I'm not seeing an identity for Hearts yet. I'm not seeing a team that I think, yeah, this team is going to be really good. I said weeks ago that for me, this is the third best squad in Scotland. I'm now not convinced it is. I'll look a bit daft for saying that, but I'm just not seeing an identity to a Hearts team. I'm not seeing a team that is coming out firing, coming out fighting, coming out with a real intensity to win the game. We have to show all that tomorrow. Now, earlier on when I came on the show, I listened to comments with Stephen Kingsley, who said that it's not been good enough. And I'm sick of hearing that. I really am. I want to see players on the pitch that are giving everything. I can't be bothered with these comments that come out in the press about, we need to do this, we need to do that. Mm-hmm. Do it on the pitch. It's just words. And it really winds me up at times. Paul Donaldson, Aberdeen fan, says, I hate to be negative, but really dreading tomorrow's match against Hearts. Our form at Tynecastle has been abysmal in recent years. Performance against Hibs 2 weeks ago was a disgrace. The fans are already starting to turn on Barry Robson. And lose badly tomorrow, he comes under even greater pressure. And I think it's the same for both teams. I think this is a huge game for both teams. Aberdeen are on 2 points just now. And I said on the show, when we did the show 2 weeks ago, that I thought Aberdeen would beat Hibs. Aberdeen were dreadful. They were very, very poor. I'm expecting a reaction from Aberdeen tomorrow. This could be a good game tomorrow. I think for me, there's 2 big games tomorrow. 2 of the games of the day are this one and St Mirren against Motherwell. But I think this is a huge game for both teams. I'm still not convinced that a lot of Aberdeen fans really rate Barry Robson, even with the job he did last season. And I certainly think a lot of Hearts fans are not overly convinced by Stephen Naismith. I'm probably one of them. And that's why I think tomorrow's massive. If we lose tomorrow, he's under huge pressure. Now, we said weeks ago, I didn't want him to get the job in the first place. I thought he was too inexperienced. That's been proven. But tomorrow could be a game that kickstarts our season. But I am a bit like Paul. I'm not looking forward to this game at all. I hope we get 3 points, but I'm genuinely worried about it.
Stephen, this is a good game. It's another game that should be on the TV. But anyway, what do you think of the game tomorrow?
It's El Sakiko, the sequel in Edinburgh. I think that game between Hibs and Aberdeen last year. I think this game's every bit as big for both managers. I think if I was to look at Hearts and their performance against us, they just look a bit toothless. I mean, there was a header that went over the bar, but apart from that, and there was a couple of times where we had to throw bodies on the line in the second half. But apart from that, I didn't really feel threatened at all. And that you shouldn't be saying that coming away from a place like Tynecastle's, notoriously one of the hardest grounds to go to in Scotland. But listen, Graham's spot on. If Aberdeen get that first goal tomorrow, that place will turn toxic and it will give Aberdeen a huge lift. I just think that it's got a draw written all over it, to be honest, because it's a game that, well, both teams need to win it. They just can't afford to lose it.
Barry Robson was talking about the game. He says, I think the first few weeks of the season, you can see that we are still trying to get players in the building. And by the way, when managers say that, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's a bit of an excuse. But anyway, we'll hear what you've got to say in a minute. He then goes on to say quite a lot of our fixtures has been away from home, so we were on the road quite a bit. I thought we put in a really good performance and some mixed performances, but I think we're still in work in progress with like we want to be in Europe, and this is where we want to be, and we know it's going to be very difficult, but our concentration is on the game tomorrow against Hearts. Stephen, if I can go back to Robson's comment that he made about I think the first 2 weeks of the season can be you can see that we're trying to still build the team and bring players into the building. Do you think that's a kind of like, and it's just like every manager kind of makes if they don't get off to a good start, they'll say, well, it's because we're still trying to build a squad for the new season?
The only time you really know whether it's an excuse or not is maybe another month or two down the line, because it can happen when teams have signed a lot of new players that they take a lot of time to get up to speed. Sokler's not really featured. He's been kind of coming off the bench. They managed to get Leighton Clarkson in on a permanent as well as Graham Shinnie, who were two players that were at the club last year. So, listen, it's massive for them to pick up the results soon. I think they've only won one game, and that was against Stirling Albion in the League Cup. So I think that's what the last 9. They've only won one. So there's heaps of pressure on Barry Robson, and it's going to be tough going to Tynecastle tomorrow. The first 20 minutes are vital for them because, again, Hearts, that crowd will be right behind them. They'll come flying out the traps. But listen, it's a game that's really on a knife edge and a game you can't call. And I completely agree with you, Michael, that games like this should be the ones that are being televised on the TV.
You can come back on the show anytime, Stephen, now, because you've actually passed the test. Because me and Graham, we've actually did well this season. So, we're only in 4 games into the season, but there's still time yet for me and Graham to get on my soapbox. It doesn't take me long to get on my soapbox, but I'm not going to do it tonight. But yeah, well said, Stephen. Come back anytime you want. So Graham, give us I know you like to do predictions on the show. Are you sticking your neck on the line, or are you sitting on the fence?
I feel like I have to be positive because we're at home, and I want to say 2-1 to Hearts, but I genuinely don't know. And I mean, Paul Donaldson says here, I normally would be happy with I wouldn't be happy with a draw against Hearts, but tomorrow I will be. I can see where he's coming from. I mean, I don't think a draw really helps either team, to be honest, because Aberdeen are sitting in 11th place, so they have to win as well. But I do feel that Aberdeen have got Eintracht Frankfurt on Thursday. Again, it's a massive game, and I have said before that I think the Thursday, Sunday games will affect Aberdeen quite a lot because it affected us last season. So I think this could be a massive impact on Barry Robson. Listen, again, I think he might be a decent coach. I'm not sure about a good manager. That's what I keep talking about. Stephen Naismith, again, decent coach, good manager. I think there's a lot of questions to be asked there. And obviously, now that Stephen's on, I can ask him. Stephen, were you surprised at how poor Hearts were in that Motherwell game? Because I said at the time when I was watching it, even when Paul McGinn got sent off, at no point did I ever think Hearts were going to score. And that pains me to say as a Hearts fan. But were you surprised that, and I used the word at the time on the show as well, were you surprised at how comfortable Motherwell were in that game, especially being at Tynecastle?
I have never felt so comfortable with 10 men on the pitch holding a 1-goal lead in my life. And I shouldn't be saying that. I kind of knew that Hearts weren't going to score, Graham, because there was absolutely no sign of it whatsoever. It looks like a team void of direction, a team void of ideas from the side of the pitch. And I can completely see why the stands are full of frustration, to be honest with you, mate, because if I'm watching a Motherwell team playing like that, then I'm not happy either. What I think, the club came out with a statement, didn't they, after that, saying that Naismith will kind of be in charge now, right, in saying that?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Yeah, so they've come out and they've kind of cleared that up, so it'll be interesting to see how he's performed tomorrow and whether that will get the desired reaction, because I think we spoke about it before the Hearts Motherwell game, that we weren't really sure who was in charge 1 minute and who was in charge the next. So hopefully that gives the dressing room a bit of clarity and you can kick on. But if you don't, mate, then as you say, those games that you've got coming up, when does it start to turn around for you?
There's been a lot of talk recently, especially after the Motherwell game. After it, I knew it was going to happen at some point, because I did say probably Monday or something that somebody will come out and say Stephen Naismith is now in permanent charge. And then a lot of Hearts fans, probably like myself as well, have questioned the fact, well, was McAvoy actually picking the team? Was it Naismith? Because I was trying to watch on the sidelines at times for some of the games and thinking, right, who's shouting the instructions? And I genuinely don't think that Stephen Naismith wants Hearts to play as slow as we have done. So I'm expecting, and this is what I said on Twitter hours ago as well, I'm expecting a reaction from Hearts tomorrow. I'm expecting us to come out quickly on the front foot, which we've not done so far this season. I'm expecting a reaction tomorrow. And I said, again, before I came on the show, put on Twitter, I'm going to be very concerned if I don't see a reaction tomorrow, and if we get beat and it's the same kind of performance I've seen recently. If that is still the same case, I'm going to be worried. Now, what I don't like as well is the fact that, Aberdeen have done it with Barry Robson. It was a poor appointment making Jim Goodwin manager. It didn't work. They brought in Robson, who has done okay so far, but I don't like this experiment with managers. I know we'll get onto it shortly, and I really hate saying this, and any Hearts fans that are watching this are going to hate me, but I genuinely think that Nick Montgomery is a really good appointment for Hibs. He's somebody that I would have quite happily had at Hearts. I'm genuinely concerned where Stephen Naismith is going to take us. Now, I hope he does really well, but if we lose tomorrow and things don't change, it's going to come to a point where I'm going to have to start saying he has to go. And I don't want to say that because it's very early in the season, but I think at some point I would have to say this isn't working. The Hearts board have got to act and they've got to do something, because honestly, if we lose tomorrow, I guarantee Twitter, Hearts fans pages will all be saying Naismith has to go.
Do you think that was the difference between Hearts not being in Europe and because if they had one manager, I'm not saying if it was Stevie, if Frank McAvoy or they would still been in Europe, they might have not. They might have got beat with one permanent manager. But do you think that put the team off a wee bit?
I don't think Hearts have beaten Pauk if they've got one manager and if they've got two, to be honest with you, Michael. I think that what I will say on the point about the managerial situation is that Motherwell done it with Stevie Hamill. We started well, then it went bad, it didn't work. Hearts done it with Stephen Naismith, got a couple of results, now they've confused it. It looks like it's not working. Aberdeen give the job to Barry Robson. It looks like it's working. Now it doesn't. So what's very interesting with these managers, and the point I'm trying to make is, when they're inexperienced and they've not went in there under corners such, when it starts to go against them, do they have the experience to turn that round? And I've yet to see that for either Robson or Naismith, and it's up to one of them to prove it. And we didn't see it for Hamill either. So I think there's something for going out and earning your trade and working your way up. I don't know if that's something that you would agree with.
This is going to be a difficult question to answer, Stephen, because he's manager of your team now. But would you have been gutted if Hearts had gone down the Stuart Kettlewell route? Because obviously, Ross County thing was a difficult one, but I thought he did okay there. He's always come to Motherwell, done a great job. Could you have imagined, I know we'll get on to Motherwell shortly, but could you have imagined that Stuart Kettlewell would do as well as he has done? And if Hearts are coming for him, do you think Hearts would be a better team now with Stuart Kettlewell in charge than Stephen Naismith?
They would 110% be a better team, because what he does is he organises them, he gives them identity, and you know what they're trying to do. Now listen, I knew 1-0 up at Tynecastle. I knew in that second half I wasn't going to see a brilliant Motherwell performance. It was attacking free flow in the second half. It was going to be, regardless of whether we had 11 or whether we had 10, it was going to be grit in, dig in, maybe nick one on the counter. And listen, I'm fine with that, because at the end of the day, I know that Stuart Kettlewell is going to get results because he's proven it. I was actually surprised that we got Stuart Kettlewell when he wasn't in a job before coming to us, and he ended up taking the youth job. So I think he would sort the Hearts team out overnight. But I'm just going for what I've seen him do at Motherwell, and he did a great job at County as well. I think he would improve.
Right.
Do you think he would improve Hearts?
I think there's no doubt he probably would. I mean, I like I said, I don't think experiments. We did it with Ian Cathro, it didn't work. Daniel Stender was a decent manager, but I think he was probably right guy at the wrong time. We then brought in Craig Levein, which was an absolute disaster. I know he got us to a cup final, but the performances were pretty poor. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think Robin Nielsen was a good manager for Hearts, but his time was up. So if Stuart Kettlewell was to come in, I would have quite happily taken that. But I mean, Michael, you're obviously an outsider. What's your kind of thoughts on the whole, Stephen Naismith thing? Do you think it's and you can be honest, I'm not going to take offence, but do you think this is an appointment that you think is going to work? Or do you think that, like a lot of other folk that are not Hearts supporters, do you think this looks like it's going to be destined to fail? And you can be honest.
Yeah, I do. And I think it was a big gamble for the Hearts to appoint Stephen Naismith, because Graham, I mean, you go to Tynecastle more than me and Stephen. I mean, Hearts is a big club and a big stadium, and the fans are on your back if they don't go off to a good start. So yeah, I think it was I don't want to show disrespect to the Hearts board here, and maybe you know where I'm coming from, but I think they went for the cheap option, Graham.
I said that at the time. Yeah,
and I would say that about Frank McAvoy as well, if he was a manager as well, because Hearts deserves like a big kind of name. Now, I might upset Stephen here when I say this. Maybe that's why his camera's off. But I can kind of see where you're getting Stuart Kettlewell, because I mean he's proven to be a good manager at Motherwell, and I still believe if he went in there last season, they were going to make the top 6. But I can see where you're getting at, Glenn, because I feel as though that he plays a good style of football, but also, and this is where Stephen's going to cut us off in a wee minute, I think he'll have a bigger budget to play about with.
Can I be honest? I don't think he would leave. I don't think he would leave. As much as the money would be more, the fan base is more, it is a bigger club. I'm not naive enough to dispute that. I think he might feel like he's got something at Motherwell now, and I think he might be grateful to the opportunity that Motherwell gave him and the loyalty that Motherwell showed in him to get him back into the game.
But
I don't see him going to another Scottish club at this point. I would love to hear Graham's thoughts on that, whether he thinks he would go, but I don't see him leaving. That's Motherwell side if the Hearts job was to appear, if we're talking hypothetically.
No, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, I think Stuart Kepler's done a great job. I know we'll get onto that shortly. I think he's done a great job. I think, to be fair, I think a lot of questions were asked about what would happen after Van Veen left, but I don't think Motherwell have been massively affected by that, to be fair. I think he's done a great job. His recruitment's been really good. So I've been really impressed, and I think if the option came up to go for a guy like Kettlewell, then I would quite happily take that. But the one question I would ask you both is, obviously I'm talking about the fact that tomorrow's a massive game for Hearts and Aberdeen. I don't think anything's going to change no matter the result tomorrow. But I'll ask you this first, Stephen. How many games do you think it is? How many games do you think a manager should get before questions get asked about should he be sacked? Because obviously we're only 5 games in. Lee Johnson's been sacked already by Hibs because he didn't have a particularly great run, and the end of last season wasn't great either. So how many games do you think a manager should get before questions then get asked about, is this guy the right guy? Because like I said, if Hearts get beat tomorrow, that's 5 games, and we've only got 4 points out of 15. Is that the right time to be asking? Is that the right time for me and Hearts fans to be asking questions about, is this going to work?
I think the board would analyse it after you've played everybody once. I think that's when they would look at it. And the week started to take shape. But my issue for Hearts is who they've got coming up. I mean, you've said that you've got to go away to St Mirren, away to County, which isn't easier games in isolation. And then you factor into that you've got Celtic, Rangers and Hibs afterwards. I don't know. Maybe you need a game against the Hibs and a Celtic and a Rangers. Sometimes they're the kind of games that can turn it. But again, can you wait that long? Because where will you be by the time that game comes around when you're playing the likes of them if you haven't got a result? I think that it won't be tomorrow's game, but if you then don't pick up points against St Mirren and County, I'd be questioning it then.
I kind of feel sorry for managers now, Graham, and we've spoke about this on the show as well, that, I mean, if you look beyond, before social media came in and all that, and to be honest, social media plays a part in managers getting sacked, right? But, back in the day, like, a manager would get maybe like a season and a half, but now they're just in the door. I mean, you don't have to look too far down England. I mean, if they don't win 2 games back to back, that they're packing their bags, and here's your P45, and that's okay. It's a big payoff, but I think like maybe 2 transfer windows at the most.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of go along with that as well, and I think it's the money that's involved as well. It's the fact that that if you finish in the top 3, the money you get for that. If you finish bottom, the fact you could be relegated. There's a lot of money involved in this, and I think we've made a lot of mistakes over the years. I can't deny that. Should have sacked Levine a lot earlier than we did. Probably should have sacked Robbie earlier than we did. But there is this thing that. And I see it all the time on social media. Whenever Hearts lose a game, it's the manager's terrible, needs to be sacked, Joel Savage is not good enough. And to be honest, I said probably about a year ago, maybe even more than that for me the best appointment we made was Joel Savage. I'm now regretting that because I heard something very interesting last week, which I will say on another podcast. So after the Motherwell game, Joel Savage was in the director's box above the main stand, and a fan basically said to Joel Savage, who's the sporting director of sporting director. So the fan calmly asked him, "How happy are you with the level of recruitment that you've done?" Joel Savage said to the supporter, "That's not my job. I'm not involved in that. I only signed the contracts. Stephen Naismith deals with all that." Now, I heard that and thought, well, why are you here then? What are you doing? Because he's quite happy to take the acclaim for bringing guys like Benny Manningham in or other guys that he's apparently signed. So that's a sporting director telling a fan that he doesn't actually sign the players. It's Stephen Naismith that does that. For me, and I've heard a lot of Hearts fans say this as well, there is a massive disconnection right now between the fans and the club. And that needs to get sorted out pretty quickly. Because nobody seems to know what's happening. Nobody seems to know who's doing what in the club. And that needs to change very quickly. And honestly, if we lose tomorrow, I guarantee I'll go on Twitter, I'll go on Facebook, I'll go on Hearts fans' websites, and I will see plenty of threads that Stephen Naismith has to get sacked.
Do you think, because, by the way, you were talking about the length of time managers we get, I would say maybe Robbie Nelson, because he got a hell of a lot of time. But do you think that the Hearts fans were a bit kind of like a divide because he was a Hearts legend?
Yeah, and I think I said this at the time as well. I think a lot of the reason that Hearts fans didn't like, or some of them didn't like Nielsen, was because of the season that Hibs eventually won the Cup. And they'd actually knocked Hearts out on the road to that. And a lot of Hearts fans have never forgiven for that. I wasn't one of them. Hibs were going to win the Cup at some point. It was going to happen. And they still had 3 rounds to go. But a lot of Hearts fans didn't forgive him for that. And the style of football, yeah, it wasn't great, let's be honest. And in the Championship, the second time, we lost to Alloa in the League Cup. And in the same season, lost to Brora in the Scottish Cup. And I said at the time after that Brora game, he should have gone. Because no Hearts manager should survive that. But he did, and he did a really good job. So I think I can see a lot of points that Robbie Neilson was a good manager for us. And he's actually got, for me, I think I read this post on Twitter, he's actually got the 4th best win rate out of any Hearts manager over the last few years. He did a great job. But fans will never see beyond a certain moment. And I think it was the right time when he got sacked after the St Mirren game. It was the right time for him to go. Paul Donaldson says, I don't think things have reached the stage where Barry Robson's job is under threat yet. But we've got Ross County, St Johnstone and Dundee at home coming up in the next few weeks. If we fail to pick up the points there and get knocked out the League Cup by County, I think Aberdeen fans will be looking for a change of manager. And again, you know, Stephen said it there about El Sacchio. It wasn't that long ago we're talking about Hibs against Aberdeen being El Sacchio. This is another one. Aberdeen fans at the moment are not overly convinced by Robson. And I get it. I think he has signed a lot of good players. He has strengthened the window. I thought against Hacken, they were very good in the first game. They were unfortunate not to win that. And in the second game, they were just caught on the counter-attack numerous times, but they had plenty of chances. Aberdeen, for me, look a real threat going forward.
Yeah.
That's a worry for me. That's a worry for me tomorrow. Because Duka Majowski against guys like Rose and Kent are a huge worry for me. And that's why I think that if Aberdeen scored, I think the first goal in any game is important. But tomorrow it's so important because if Aberdeen get it, I think the Hearts fans will turn very quickly. If Hearts get it, we've got something to build on or hold on to, and it might give us that bit of confidence. Because Tynecastle can be a great place to play. But if we're getting beat, it can be horrible.
Let's move on now to talk about the other side of Edinburgh, Kilmarnock's at home against the High Beast tomorrow. Before we get to Kilmarnock, Stephen, let's talk about Hibs. They've been quite busy from the international break. Lee Johnson gets sacked, and believe it or not, he's back in the game. Who knew that? And also, Hibs has appointed a new manager, Nick Montgomery. Now, I saw his press conference during the week, and he's very confident. Well, I asked you if do going to a new club, but I would give that about 2 or 3 weeks. What do you think of that appointment for Hibs? Do you think it's a good appointment?
Graham touched on experiments. I think this is one that you can put down as another one, but he does have plenty of experience managing abroad. He's never managed in the Scotland game, I don't think, in the Premiership. So it's a gamble, but it's an exciting gamble. I think if you're a Hibs supporter, it's one of these ones that I think could go either way, and that sounds so cliche to say that, but I genuinely couldn't tell you what way this is going to go at all.
Well,
Graham said he thinks it'll be good. What are you basing that off?
He's got a lot of experience. He won the A-League not that long ago. He's very good at bringing through young players. He's done very good with the academy. He's very highly thought of. This is an appointment that I, as a Hearts fan, I'm concerned about. I'd like to see them keep Lee Johnson because it would have been good for us. But I think this is a good appointment for Hibs. And I really hate saying that. I hate being positive about Hibs. And I hope that won't last too long. Any Hearts fans on this, please forgive me. But yeah, I think he's a good appointment. I think he's steadied the ship. Lee Johnson, for me, it was an appointment that just didn't work. There was a lot of Hibs fans that really weren't happy with him. And some of the stuff he came out with the press conferences was just bizarre. The fact that he's now at Fleetwood's, I mean, how he's got a job so quickly, I have no idea. And I feel sorry for Fleetwood. But I think this appointment makes real sense. There was a lot of names in the frame. Neil Lennon was in the frame. There was a lot of talk, as always, about Derek McInnes and guys like that. But I think this appointment makes sense. Hibs fans seem generally excited. It'll take time for him to get kind of his system and his style sorted. But I genuinely think this appointment is a really good appointment. You know, we've always seen what happened when Ange Postecoglou he came from the A-League. I'm not going to say that Montgomery's going to be of that level, but he's clearly very highly rated and highly thought of. And I think this is the appointment for Hibs that makes perfect sense. And I'm going to go wash my mouth out now with soap and water because I feel dirty saying that. But I'm a professional, I'm going to be honest. And yeah, you know, I think it's a good appointment. I really do. And I really hope it doesn't work. But I've got worries that it might.
I think, and Graham must have been reading my mind there because I was itching to come in and say Postecoglou because obviously he got off to a bad start because Hearts beat Celtic that Saturday night in the first game of the season. And I think Celtic went on getting beat 3 games, and it was a bit weird to see Celtic sitting 9th in the table at the beginning of the season. But at the end of the season, they won the league and the rest is history. So I suppose what Graham's trying to say is Mick Montgomery might be a bit of a kind of outside the box appointment. But I think Postecoglou was like that to the Celtic fans because if you just ask Alan Bazil, he didn't know how to pronounce his name.
Well,
but I mean, I'm sure he did at the end of the season.
That's the comparisons that are going to be made because he's coming to the A-League. I think the point that Graham made that really would excite me if it was a Hibs supporter is that he's really good at bringing through youth because Hibs did really well in the Youth Champions League last year. And I've yet to see any of those boys breaking through, which I was really surprised at. I think they lost Ethan Laidlaw, the striker. He left them, but I was surprised to see none of that side who were put out by Borussia Dortmund really get their opportunity within the first team. Because I think that's something that Hibs have been known for in the past. They had that season where they brought through Thompson, Brown, Riordan, before that O'Connor, and then Fletcher. So they've always brought through great youth. So that's something that the Hibs fans will be hoping that they can get back to. And if Montgomery's got that on his CV, then it'll be interesting to see.
I think it would we're all about promoting the game in Scotland, and I suppose that Postecoglou done that to a certain extent because an international break Graham, that's hard for me to say. Postecoglou was on a lot of Australian TV channels doing interviews and all that. And I suppose like when Montgomery comes over to Scotland, not to play golf, obviously Colin Montgomery. So that was a bad joke there. But if he does well, that means the game will be advertised over in Australia about Scottish football. So it can only benefit Scottish football if he gets off to a good start and if he's given time as well.
No, 100%. You know, I think the A-League, a lot of folk will probably say maybe isn't the best league, but you know what? You can only be what's put in front of you. Montgomery's done that, Postecoglou's done that, and I'm going to go a bit deep here as well, because I saw comments by Ange Postecoglou. I know this is a Scottish thing, but I saw comments by Postecoglou. We spoke about this before as well, and Postecoglou in a press conference earlier on this afternoon was talking about mental health and stuff, and every single thing he said was absolutely spot on. You know, I don't think, especially men as well, we don't really talk about our problems. You know, everyone, as Postecoglou says, has got issues, whether it be money worries, whether it be relationship problems. We've all got problems. You know, we've all need to talk at some point, and I think that is something that is really important. You know, we come on the show, Michael, you've said this numerous times, we come on the show, we do it, we don't get paid for this, we do it for the love of the sport. And, you know, I've never met you, I've never met Stephen in you know, public and that before, but I come on the show because I love talking about sport. I love talking about things that, you know, I love. You and Stephen are very passionate about what you do. Stephen, you know, I've never met you in public, but you on Twitter, on shows going on with you before, you're a really, really great guy. You're a fantastic bloke.
Thanks, mate.
You've now got a new radio thing coming out, which is great. You're a really top guy. Michael, I probably don't say this enough as well. You're a really good guy as well. You're a really top bloke as well. We wind each other up, but that's what it's all about. It's about having banter. But we all come on the show because we love what we do. We've all got families, we've all got friends and stuff. But if you're struggling with anything, it's important that you talk about it. Don't sit back and think, I can do this on my own. I've done this before. I've been in places where I've thought, oh, you know, I'm really struggling just now and don't talk about it. And I've got out of it. You know, it's a really, I think what Postecoglou said today was really, really good. And it's a really strong thing. So Postecoglou, a lot of folks say, oh, you know, he was Celtic manager and all this and all that. But I thought he spoke very well today. So if you are struggling, men, women, whatever, it's important you talk. You know, we're all in this life together. So if you've got struggles in anything, it's important that you talk about it. You know, even guys that aren't on the show, Reagan, Laurie, Dave, whoever you are, we're always there for each other. We're all in group chats and stuff. If anyone's got any issues, we all talk about it. That's why I love Twitter. You know, I love going on Twitter. I love having banter with folk, and I love talking about stuff, like heart stuff. But at the end of the day, if anyone's got a problem, I know that I can go to somebody, they'll come to me with stuff. My wife will come to me with stuff. My kids will come to me with stuff. And it's important that people talk. So I genuinely thought what Postecoglou said today was really, really important. And it's really important that we stress that. But in terms of Nick Montgomery coming here, I genuinely think, and I am worried about this now as a Hearts fan, because I don't want Hearts to take over Hearts. But I honestly think this makes sense. They could have gone to Stuart Kettlewell. Sorry, Stephen. They could have gone to Derek McInnes. They could have gone to Malky Mackay. But they thought outside the box. They could have gone to Neil Lennon, who clearly wanted the job, because he's been on numerous shows that he wanted the job, but they've not. And I have to say, I listened to Montgomery's press comments after he got the job, and he was very positive. And I know it's very easy to say it on your own website, but I thought he spoke very well. I thought he was very well educated. And I honestly think this appointment makes sense. Hibs at the moment are sitting 10th. I don't think they'll finish there at the end of the season. Pray God they do, because that'll be hilarious for me. But yeah, I just think it's an appointment that I think makes sense to me. And I think this is a tough game. You know, I've been impressed with what Kill have done so far this season. They're so far sitting in ninth. Again, I think they'll be fine this season. I've said that before. This is a tough game to call. You know, probably the last place that Nick Montgomery wants to go for his first game is on a plastic pitch against Kilmarnock. But yeah, this is a really tough game to call, I think. But I do think in terms of Nick Montgomery, it's a good appointment. And I think you spoke about earlier on, Michael, when I talked about how long managers get. I think 2 transfer windows is probably a good thing as well. When Nick Montgomery gets his own players in, and the one thing I think he'll have as well, he's got Martin Boyle there, an Australian who you'll know quite well. And I said last week, I think as well, I think Martin Boyle is probably his best player still, even at this day. Yep. And if he stays fit, I think they could have a decent season. And Nick Montgomery is a really good appointment.
Stephen, as for Kamal, by the way, thanks for that, Graham. I'll give you that money after the show, right? I'll get to email you. Stephen Kamal's got off to a good start at the season, beating Celtic, beating Rangers. Not so good in the last 2 games before the international break, but they want to build on it at home against Hibs tomorrow. Do you think Kamark will catch Hibs off in the off day? Because I know that Graham was saying about the park, but a new manager coming in, this is his first game away from home. Do you think Derek McInnes will catch him a bit cold tomorrow?
before I'm going to make my point, can I just say that I absolutely echo everything Graham's just said about mental health and
Yep.
people speaking up and spot on. And thanks for having me on, guys. It's been great to get to meet you and be able to come on and do this. Hopefully I don't talk too much rubbish, but anyway, no. In terms of the
I've made a
Kilmarnock game,
career out of it, mate. It's fine.
in terms of the Kilmarnock game against
I wasn't going to say that, but
in terms of the Kilmarnock game against Hibs, I think Kilmarnock the last couple of games will look at it and say that they were really unlucky not to get anything out of either of them. We scored with the last kick of the ball against them, which obviously I'm delighted with. But then for them to not get anything in that game against Ross County with that penalty decision was an absolute joke. They should have been walking away from that game with at least a point. So I don't think it'll affect their confidence too much. I think they'll be looking at it at home. They had a great record at home last season. And they're coming up against a Hibs side who are in dire need of their first victory. But listen, from a Hibs perspective, what a statement it would be from Nick Montgomery to go and get your first 3 points in your first game away at Rugby Park. That would be a great statement to make in your first game.
Yeah, no, especially because the big two hasn't won there, Graham, and Hibs goes there and win.
yeah, Rugby Park's a hard place to go. You know, we've talked about before that plastic pitch, which a lot of people don't like, and I get it. But you still got to beat what's put in front of you. And I think this is a really tough game. You know, Kilmarnock, before the break, lost to Ross County, although they really shouldn't have done because how that Stuart Finlay goal didn't count is just ridiculous, but that's enough of that. But yeah, I mean, it's one of these games that's a tough game. I think it will be a difficult game. But if Nick Montgomery gets off to a good start tomorrow and a difficult venue, that'll be a huge thing for them. You know, we know that his fans were not overly impressed with Lee Johnson. I talked about earlier on, his press conferences were just mental. But yeah, this could be a massive 3 points for us tomorrow. You know, they're trying to... You're looking at the league table, they are sitting 10th, Kilmarnock in 9th, Kilmarnock only a point in front of them. You know, it seems very early in the season, but already these games seem really big. They're really massive games just now. So yeah, I think this is a big, big game. But I just think that Hibs now, with Nick Montgomery in there, he'll have had a couple of days to get... I know it's difficult. A couple of days isn't a long time. But I think he'll get his philosophy across. He looks to, from what I've heard and what I've seen, he likes to play attacking football, likes to get his teams pressing from the front. So I think Hibs will be a decent side to watch this season. Hopefully not when they come to Tynecastle in a few weeks' time, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, this is a difficult game, and you know what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get with Derek McInnes' side. They're really hard working. They've got a lot of quality, I think, and out wide especially. They get balls in the box, they bombard you. But what I've been impressed with Kilmarnock recently, and I said this weeks ago, I'm really impressed with them defensively. I like Robbie Dees and Stuart Finlay. Really good partnership at the back. I think they look very, very good defensively. And they'll have to be on Saturday because I think Hibs will cause them problems with like some Martin Boyle and Eli Yuan. And obviously they've got the guy Adam Lafondra, and they've also got can't remember his name.
Vente.
The guy that signed from, that's the one, Vente as well. So they've got threats going forward, but so do Kilmarnock. You know, I think this could be a really good game tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends a draw, which wouldn't be a bad result for Hibs. One game in under the new management, but yeah, it could be a decent game tomorrow, I think.
Every time we have a Scotland game on the show, Grim, we always say, "Oh no, Ashfield again." But I think Stephen's beginning to say, "Oh no, St Mirren again," because they played them a few weeks in the League Cup. Tomorrow, we were hoping to hear from Stuart Kettle. We're having a few technical issues tonight. There's nothing better than a live show and everything goes wrong. I pure love that. Anyway, before we get to the game, I kind of felt a bit sorry for Kettle yesterday in this press conference, Stephen, because Motherwell, I don't know if Motherwell can actually field a team or maybe a 5-a-side team tomorrow because you know, Stuart Kettlewell says he's got a long injury list.
Well, I can tell you that I've been exercising this week just in case I need to go on the bench. But no, we've got loads of injuries. I think there's like 9 first team players injured. You add you had Blair Spittle, William Kelly, and Shane Blaney to a list that already includes the likes of Callum Butcher, John Obika, Connor Wilkinson, Mika Bereth. So there you go. I think I just named them all, but they're all players that could potentially start for this. And listen, it's remarkable with the ones that were already injured that we've had to start to the season that we've had to have these three who are massive players for this, particularly William Kelly and Blair Spittle, against a St Mirren side who are always tough to beat tomorrow. I'm telling you now, boys, tomorrow I would take a point. I know we're at home, but we've got that many people who are injured that I just don't see how we go and get the 3 points tomorrow. I don't see it. And if we do, then Stuart Kettlewell should get an invite to Hogwarts because he's an absolute wizard if he manages to get 3 points tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know how to follow that comment up there, but never mind. I'll leave it to you.
I don't know how to put that in words now. But yeah, I mean, they do have a lot of problems. But the one thing I would say is that St Mirren have got Motherwell have got a really strong mentality. I think they've got still a lot of quality there. They might still got to fill the bench, to be honest. But I think Stephen's right. If they can, maybe the fact that South Park might help them. If they can sneak a win somehow, that would be incredible. But let's be honest here. After 4 games, you're looking at Motherwell sitting second and St Mirren sitting third. I don't think anybody would have thought that at the start of the season. I think I might have thought St Mirren might do okay this season, maybe even Motherwell, but not sitting where they are. They've both had a very good start to the season so far. This team, even if Motherwell's had a fully fit squad, I think this game is still a really tough game to call. But I think you've got to give massive credit to Kettlewell. I think he's done a great job so far, as I said before. I think already, listen, Motherwell could sneak this tomorrow. St Mirren could sneak it. But I think for me, this is another potential game of the day. As I said earlier on, you've got 2 teams sitting third. You've got 2 teams sitting second and third. 2 teams in really good form. You know, Motherwell obviously beat Hearts before the break. St Mirren drew against Livingston. Not the greatest of games as we know at the time. But this is a big game tomorrow, I think, for both teams. And if Motherwell can somehow sneak a result, it would be incredible. But I just honestly, I can't put into words just how good Stuart Kettlewell's done. Because when he came into Motherwell, I think a lot of folk thought, is this going to work? They had the double act at Ross County did okay. I think Kettlewell's done a really good job. He's got a very good squad there. The players that Steve has mentioned there that are injured is a massive blow. But I still think there's enough players in that Motherwell team that can cause St Mirren problems tomorrow. And I wouldn't be surprised if Motherwell did win this tomorrow.
Yep. Another good game tomorrow, Stephen. I take it you'll be going to the game tomorrow, yeah?
Yeah, I'll be going over to it. I think I'll be watching through my fingers. But listen, no, I'm being a wee bit too pessimistic there. Graham's right. We do have players who can still hurt them. The likes of Lennon Miller and Callum Slattery who got a goal against Hearts 2 weeks ago. Sorry to remind you of that. But no, we do have players that can hurt them. I worry because we've now some injuries defensively. I forgot to mention as well, Paul McGinn's also suspended. That was the one that I missed, given his red card against Hearts. So we've got Blaney injured and McGinn suspended for the back line. That's where my worry is because, all right, we've not had the bodies up front, but we've been really, really solid defensively, and to lose that continuity going into a tough game against St Mirren tomorrow, that's the thing that concerns me most. But if we do go and get 3 points tomorrow, it's a great start to the season to be sitting on what will be 16 points after. Is it? No, wait, am I wrong there? Is it? Well, be
13 points. 13 points.
Aye, 13, sorry.
Stephen, I was just going to say, Stephen, you mentioned his name a minute ago there. Lennon Miller has been attracting a lot of attention. He's a very good player. How far do you think he could go in the game? Because everything I've seen and everything I've heard says that he's a top talent.
He must not be that good, Glenn.
Stephen's disappeared.
He can go He can go right
Oh.
to the very top, so he can. I was just checking the league table there to check the point system. I was trying to get back in before you come back. That's 13 points for Windemore, but Lennon Miller, that guy, I mean, people talk about David Turnbull when it broke through. For me, Lennon Miller's got the potential to be even better than him. He's that good. He can use both feet. He's only just turned 17. Every time I watch him, I'm like, that's a 17-year-old kid. I can't believe it. What did you think his performance at Tynecastle? Because I know he didn't do anything that was particularly flashy, but it's his speed of thought that impresses me, along with his technical ability, how quick he can move the ball and what he sees round about him.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent. Watson so far is a very, very good player. And I think he could potentially be a star. He could easily play probably higher up. I mean, I don't think he's somebody that Celtic United would look for just now, but I think over time, I think he will be. I think he could easily play in the Premiership, but I kind of maybe not a Liverpool or Man City, but I think he could definitely be in that kind of top 10 anyway. I think he's a very, very good player. He looks very composed. He reminds, we had a player a long time ago, Harry Cochrane, who I thought would make it to the top, and he never did. But I think Lennon Miller actually will make it to the top. Well, it seems so far, I'm very impressed. And I just think that he's just got something about him. And I know I'm going to kind of digress a bit here, Michael, because I know we're talking about Scottish leagues and I've got another game to go, but I just want to go back to Scotland a little bit because I want to ask, we never did this on the show the other day, but I want to ask Stephen now he's on. We've got about 15 minutes left, so I can ask him this. What do you make of the whole Elliot Anderson and Harvey Barnes thing? Because obviously Elliot Anderson now apparently has said he doesn't want to play for Scotland because he didn't enjoy the training, which I find really bizarre. That's fine. You don't play for Scotland, that's fine. But I said a few days ago before the England game that if you get a chance to get a guy like Harvey Barnes, the quality he's got, I would happily take him. But I do like the fact that Steve Clarke did say, I'm not going to go big into him. He has to come to me, which I quite like. So what's your take on the whole Elliot Anderson, Harvey Barnes thing for Scotland?
I'll start first of all with Elliot Anderson. I'm befuddled. I'm baffled by his decision to step away from the Scotland squad and try and get in that England squad. I look at that England midfield on Tuesday night. Phil Foden, Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham. How does Elliot Anderson work his way into that? I'll tell you right now, he doesn't even start for us. I don't play my head of John McGinn. I don't play my head of Callum McGregor. I don't play my head of Billy Gilmore. And I don't play my head of Scott McTominay. So he's not getting in the England squad by any stretch of the imagination for me. But to move on to Harvey Barnes, I would take him. It's another boat to add to your line of arrows, if you like. And it gives us another option. You look at, we can maybe bring him in. You talk about Ben Doak coming in. That would be two great additions, because as for much as we don't play with direct wingers, Graham, I just think it'd be good to have that option on the bench to change it up if a game's not working, to switch the formation and bring the likes of Doak or the likes of Barnes on to give teams something else to think about. So it can only be a good thing. He's a great player, and I'd take him at Scotland in a heartbeat.
I'm going to say this now, and I posted this on Twitter a couple of days ago as well. I genuinely think that we talked about Lennon Miller, who I think is very good. I genuinely think Ben Doak is going to be sensational. He's unbelievable. Oh, he's so quick. He's really direct. He beats people all the time. He's just got that energy that I've watched him a couple of times for Liverpool as well in pieces and friendlies, and he didn't care who he was against. He just gets the ball, head down, drives at them. This boy is going to be very, very special. And like Lennon Miller, he's only 17. I'm genuinely excited to see what Ben Doak can do. I think he is going to be an absolutely outstanding player.
Okay, let's move on to the final game of the weekend in the Premiership anyway, before we touch on the Championship, before we go. Ross County against Livingston Scaven tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a game that both teams are going to go into, and they're going to really fancy their chances. I mean, we talked about County's start to the season that involved games against Celtic and Rangers, but if you take those 2 games out, they've went and they've beat St Johnstone, and they've got a win away against Kilmarnock. So I think they'll be very, very confident going into this one tomorrow. I've been impressed with them. I think Malky Mackay he's a good manager. I know that they had their issues last season. I just think that they struggled to really replace the goals of Regan Charles Cook, but he seems to have got a style now and a system which suits the players that he has at his disposal, and I think that the county fans will be having a good day tomorrow.
Graham, what do you think of this game tomorrow?
No, move on. Nah, hold on. No, I think it's a tough one. I think Ross County at home are a really good side. I know they didn't perform that well against Rangers. Second half, they were better. Livingston, they're such a hard team to predict just now. They obviously drew 1-1 with St Mirren before the break. I know that David Martindale's talked a lot about finances and stuff, which I get. It's difficult to attract players to Livingston. He talked about weeks ago the fact that he had talked to 6 players and nobody came. It is difficult, but this is a game that I think Ross County will win. And it's a game I think they're looking at and thinking, we have to win this game. Games against Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen example, they're probably looking at those games thinking, be a bonus if we win these games, but I think these are the bread and butter games against Livingston at home. I think Ross County will win this game. And if they do, they're going to 9 points after 5 games, which is a great start for them. I agree with Stephen. I think Malky Mackay is a really good manager and a really good job. I know he's got a lot of baggage that comes with that, but I think he sets his teams up really well. You know, Stephen's touched on the fact that they lost Regan Charles Cook. They also lost Joseph Hungbo as well, who was adding goals to his game as well. You know, I think Simon Murray, for me, is really good, but he needs to start scoring a few more goals. Jordan White is a real threat in the air. I'm a massive fan of Eamon Brophy. I think he's been really good. So I just think going forward, Ross County have got more of a threat than Livingston. I said at the time when the transfer window shut, I was surprised, and apparently so was David Martindale, that nobody came out with a bid for Joel Newbley, because I said at the time, I'd take him at Hearts. I think Newbley's a very good player. He's quick, he's strong. He maybe doesn't score as many goals as he should, but I was surprised that nobody came in for Joel Newbley. I'm surprised they kept him. But I do think that Livingston have got a good side there, but I just think at home, I think Kent will win that game tomorrow.
Okay, let's move on now to the Championship. A big game tonight, actually. Ayr United could get revenge on Packet Thistle from knocking them out the playoff last season. Ayr United against Packet Thistle. I'll run through the other games very quickly. Arbroath plays Stephen's second team, Airgrey. Dundee United.
I'm making faces behind the camera now.
Dundee, yeah, I'm sure you are. Yeah. Is that 2 minutes you said to me there? Dundee United against Morton, Queen's Park against Concertman, and Ravens against Inverness. Pick your games out of that, guys, for the weekend.
Well, I'm going to go straight away. Sorry, on you go, Stephen, on you go.
I'll go with the one tonight. There you go, because I think it's a really big game for the United to get a result against Partick Thistle. What one are you going for, Graham?
Well, I'm going to go for the game, and I'm only going for this because I put it at the tagline about Billy Dodds. I'm going to go for Wraith against Inverness because I think Billy Dodds is under massive, massive pressure. They've not won since the start of the season in the League Cup against Bonnyrigg Rose. They were beaten again last week by Arbroath, and our colleague Dave was at the game and said that could have been 6 or 7. So I think Billy Dodds under massive, massive pressure. Wraith have started reasonably well, and again, I've said before on the show, I love the Championship. It is so competitive, and you've already got they're firmly in 7th on 5 points. They're only 5 points off the top of the league. It's such a competitive league, but Inverness are sitting on a 1 point already. I think this is a huge game. I genuinely think if Inverness lose this game, I think Billy Dodds is going to be gone. And, you know, I feel sorry for him because I feel sorry for any manager that leaves their job. But I think this is a huge game for them. And I actually do expect Wraith to win this game at Starks Park. But I think Billy Dawes could be gone after tomorrow.
There we go, Billy Dawes, new Rangers manager. Right, let's move swiftly on. Stephen, what do you think?
I know it makes a great point there about Billy Dawes. There's a lot of Inverness fans who really aren't happy with him, and I think there was the game against Arbroath. Arbroath could have took about 4 or 5 off them, I heard. So no, he's under huge pressure. But the game tonight, Partick Thistle, if they win that, they can go joint top. So I think they'll really be looking to put on a show tonight. It's one that I'm going to enjoy watching.
Do you think Partick Thistle fans are still licking their wounds after last season, Stephen, because they were only about half an hour away from coming up to the Premiership?
Well, you would be. I mean, I think Graham touched on it a couple of weeks ago. That's the reason that they've lost players like Kyle Turner and Scott Tiffany, who, by the way, I think have been great acquisitions for Ross County and Dundee, respectively. But I think teams like Partick Thistle should be in the Premiership. I think that I know fan bases don't guarantee you anything, but they've got a good wee fan base down there. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm local. It's a place I enjoy going. Listen, they'll be looking to correct the wounds or stitch the wounds of last season by putting themselves in a similar position, and they only do things like that by winning games like the game tonight against Ayr United.
Stephen, we talked about it quite a lot last season about Queen's Park. They were very, very close, to get in that kind of top spot, but fell away. Already so far, they're on 9 points after a few games. Do you think that Queen's Park can go one better and get promoted this season, or do you think, like last season, unfortunately they fall away? Because let's be honest, they were the main story last season, Queen's Park. I was backing them. I think Michael was as well. Most folk in the chat were backing them. So do you think Queen's Park can go that little step further and get promoted this season, or do you think it's a bit too far again?
I think they'll be up there. But I think they need to keep the likes of Don Thomas and Rudy Payne fit to have any chance, really. But listen, I think Leicester Hampden, that new wee stadium, which I don't know what the director's box is, but that's another point. I don't think anybody's going to enjoy going there this season. I think it's a new ground with a real bit of character. It's something completely that I've not seen before. They've started well, they're getting results, they've got a good squad. I think that they'll continue that run of form. Do you?
I do, and I hope so. I think you're right about Don Thomas as well. He's a really good player. I would love to see them come in that step further. And honestly, I think Queen's Park in the Scottish Premiership would be phenomenal. I would love to see it. And that's why I've always said, and Michael will tell me I've said this numerous times before, that's why I've always said that the league should have been made, reconstructed and been extended, but it never happened.
Well, that's a different argument, but I completely agree with you. I don't even get time to cover that, unfortunately.
Just a quick word, guys, on the Scotland women's squad getting announced this week for the games coming up against England, Graham, down in Sunderland on the 22nd of September before Hogan, Belgium, 4 days later.
Yeah, so they've got the Nations League game, as you mentioned. They've got England on the 22nd of September. They then play Belgium on the 26th of September. They play Holland on the 27th of October. They then play Holland again at home on the 31st of October. They play Belgium on the 1st of December, and their final game in the Nations League is England on the 5th of December. Scotland squad looks very strong, and hopefully the women can go a little bit further than the men did against England and actually manage to get 3 points, which would be great.
There you go. Busy show as always. Thanks for all your comments. We'll be back. We'll be back on Sunday, and we'll be back next week for the European games. Graham's going to get sick of me. I'm going to see more of Graham than I do of my partner. I think that might be a good thing. So we'll be on Tuesday. Don't tell her. Tuesday and Thursday next week for the big European games. Thanks, Stephen, for you need money in the meter again, I think, to put your camera back on. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your football this weekend, and we'll see you soon.
The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need. Live